Hi there. I wanted to talk about a couple of things from Module 5. Um, Great discussion once again. The first thing I wanted to bring up is the quote that somebody used. Although teenagers dislike rules, they generally thrive in reasonable, supportive environments that have predictable, enforced structure. So that resonates with me big time. I'll tell you why. As I started teaching, I definitely thought that if I provided the right questions and if I used my personality and personability to demonstrate to students what collegial group work looks like, then they would just work in a group well. And this worked well in grade 11 and grade 12 specifically, but grade 9 and 10 definitely needed a lot more guidance. And so this structured environment really resonates with me because I'm not one for protocols. I'm not one for making rules in terms of you speak first and you add on and you do this. But as I got more and more into my career, I realized that this is really what works for intermediate students. And so I feel like this is where a lot of the discussion's going in the module discussion, and I really appreciate it because I feel like you'll get to that conclusion a lot faster than I did. So now the way that my group work looks like is in a group of, let's say, 4, I'll say that everybody has to pick a title. And I have different titles at different times. And my titles include recorder and initiator, who's the person that has to start the thinking. And I like to use that one because oftentimes there's kids that won't start the thinking, and I want everybody to have that role sometimes, right? Everybody should be able to throw their ideas out sometimes in my class. So initiator, spy. A spy is one that when I say that it's spy time, they can go to other groups and see what they're working on. So that's one, because then you get interpollination of ideas, which is really what we do in the workplace. So it's a good skill to have anyway. What else do I use? I use facilitator, who's one that's supposed to make sure that everybody has a voice, right? So if somebody's not speaking up, the facilitator will ask their opinion to be thrown into the group. I also use, I'm missing one that I really like. Liaison. I like liaison because in a class of 30, if I've got groups of 4, let's say, and one person's the liaison, I don't have to shout to all 30 students. I'll just call the liaisons over because they liaise with me, and I tell them any new piece of information that they might need, or some new development or whatever they need to solve the problem. And then the liaison will go to their group, and over the semester they learn that it's their job to not stop the thinking that's in the group in order to pass my message along, but to wait until there's a lull and then to say oh, by the way, Mr. Anusik said blah, 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 right? So there's a liaison too. So I like having those roles, and they've really worked out well for me. And I think it's because it is that a little bit of enforced structure. It's a little bit more predictable. The other piece that I wanted to mention is there's a hot topic of visibly random grouping right now based on Peter Liljedahl's work, if you looked at the link that I posted last time. And it means that you change groups daily and that they're random, that we don't pick the groups as a teacher. And they change daily, and students know that they're random, so that's the visibly random part. There's a few arguments for this. One is that, well, if I don't like who I'm working with, my answer as a teacher is, well, that's fine because you won't be working with them tomorrow, so just put up with it for the day and we're good. Because you really should be, as an adult, able to work with people that you don't want to work with, at least for a day. Now I know that these are kids, not adults, so it does take a little bit of work to make sure that that happens, but that's that. Now, that brings me to the idea of grouping in general, and this is also a topic for thinking about grade 7 to 10 students and the adolescent learner. Do we group them based on like abilities, so homogeneous, heterogeneous, or heterogeneous, or do we do this random grouping piece? I would say that from 7 to 10, random grouping has really worked well for me. To base students by likability at this age is really tough because they know that they are the low group or the high group, and that's really, it really stifles thinking, and it brings down morale for a lot of students. So I definitely don't do that one. Heterogeneous grouping, where I mix abilities. I mean, I do that sometimes, but students then again know who the smart one in the group is, and then they just rely on them. They're like, oh, this is why he was put in our group, because he's the one that's supposed to do the hard work. So I stay away from that one too. So really, I mean, I do it sometimes, but for the most part, I do visibly random grouping, and it's gotten me some good results. Last thing I wanted to pose to you for Module 5 is in the brownie problem. It's a very good problem, but there's a lot of research that says that it's actually easier for students to start thinking about fractions when we pose a mixed number in there, okay? And part of the reason is because the students can start working with the whole number first, and then they can get to the fraction part. So if we had asked something like, we started with 1.5 pans of brownie, and we gave away 3/4 of what we had, how much did we give away? So that is a very similar problem in terms of math, but it's actually an easier problem in terms of diagramming it and in terms of students thinking about it. Now that's counterintuitive to me, and so it might be to you too, and that's okay. But this research is out there by Dr. Alex Lawson, it's really one of my newer learnings about fractional thinking for students. Okay, that's it for Module 5. Thank you very much, and we'll talk soon.